courses or determine whether students graduate or continue to the next level of schooling. The tests are often a mixture of essay and structured response questions. For example, such as multiple choice items, that they are one of structured response questions, and raise important issues about what teachers should teach, as well as how and whether teachers should help students to pass the examination. It also raises issues about whether high stakes testing is fair to all students and consistent with other ideals of public education, such as giving students the best possible start in life instead of disqualifying them from educational opportunities. Furthermore, since the results of high-stakes tests are sometimes also used to evaluate the performance of teachers, schools or schools districts, ensuring students' success on them becomes an obvious concern for teachers, one that affects the instructional decisions on the daily. Now we are going to the other most important point of that I showed you. I want to talk about the educational psychology here. How educational psychology can help us and how it's important in education nowadays. If you have any question, you can write me on this one. Okay, the next title, how educational psychology can help. Does it help or not? Now we are going to talk about this. All things considered, then times have changed for teachers. Teaching remains an attractive, satisfying, and worthwhile profession. The recent trends mean simply that you need to prepare for teaching differently than you might have in the past, and perhaps differently than your own school teachers did a generation ago. Fortunately, there are ways to do this. Many current programs in teacher education provide a balance of experiences in tune with current and emerging needs of teachers. They offer more time for practice teaching in schools, for example. But teacher education instructors often make deliberate efforts to connect the concepts and ideas of education, psychology to current best practices of education. These and other features of contemporary teacher education will make it easier for you to become the kind of teacher that you not only want to be, but also need to be. And it won't be a void in the future. Student motivation. It's one of the most important parts of education psychology. Student motivation is very important. How? Teachers must persuade students to want to do what students have to do anyway. Students have to do some things anyway, in any way, in any path. And teachers must persuade students to want to do what they have to do. This task, understanding, and therefore influencing students' motivation to learn is the focus of this speaking here. Focus as the title. Fortunately, as you will see and you will hear here, and I will tell you, there are ways of accomplishing this task that respect students' choices, desires, and attitudes. Like motivation itself, theories of it are full of diversity. For convenience in navigating through the diversity, we have organized the title and the speaking around 6 major theories or perspectives about motives and their sources. We can tell them as here. Motives as behavior change, as goals, as interest, as attributions about success, as beliefs about self-efficiency, and as self-determination. Here now, we are going to talk about each of them. Motives of behavior. The first one, sometimes it's useful to think of motivation not as something inside the student driving the student's behavior, but as equivalent to the student's outward behaviors. This is the perspective of behaviorism, equating the inner and the outward might seem to violate common sense. How can a student do something without some sort of feeling or thought to make the action happen? As we will explain, as I will tell you here, these very questions led to alternative models of motivation that are based on cognitive rather than behaviorist theories of learning. Sometimes the circumstances of teaching limit teachers' opportunities to distinguish between inner motivation and outward behavior. Certainly teachers see plenty of students' behaviors, signs of motivation of some sort. But the multiple demands of teaching and limited time needed to determine what the behaviors mean. Operant conditioning as a way of motivating. That's one of the most important ways that I'm going to refer to it. To understand this model in terms of motivation, think of a likelihood of response as the motivation and the reinforcement as the motivator. Imagine, for example, that the student learns by operant conditioning to answer questions during class discussions. Each time the student answers the question, the teacher praises this behavior, and the student hears the operant, and the teacher is reinforced. In addition to thinking of this situation as behavioral learning, however, you can also think of it in terms of motivation, the likelihood of the student answering questions is increasing because of the teacher's praise, and the teacher here is motivator. But another important point here is cautions about behavioral perspectives on motivations. And all of the ways are not true, and you should pay attention to some cautions. As we mentioned before, behaviorist perspectives about motivation do reflect the classroom reality. The teachers sometimes lack time and therefore must focus simply on the students' appropriate outward behavior. But there are very important cautions about adopting this view. An obvious one is the students' specific behaviors.